A small portion of this video is sponsored by NordVPN. Have you ever seen a color e-ink display? Because I haven't. So when Boox sent out their Nova 3 color e-reader, I was pretty excited. Not only can this e-ink tablet view things like comics in color, but it also comes with a stylus for drawing, and it has access to the Google Play Store, something that is almost unheard of for these types of products. Here's the thing though. This is a very niche product that utilizes some pretty new technology. The color e-ink tech has not been around for very long, and with new tech often comes with a lot of different quirks, which trust me, we're gonna dive into. So if you're relatively familiar with e-ink tech, you know that it comes with a lot of great upsides and some not so great downsides. E-ink is used in all sorts of stuff, from my Fossil hybrid watch to most basic e-readers. So there's two main benefits of e-ink displays. You've got your significant improvements to battery life over traditional LCD displays, and you've got how easy on the eyes these things are, which makes them perfect for e-readers. On the other hand though, e-ink displays have fairly slow refresh rates and are almost always monochrome black and white displays. Boox aims to change both these things with the Nova 3 color. The design of this thing is very similar to what you'll find throughout the e-reader market. It's a bit uninspiring, if I'm honest, with an all-plastic body and fairly large bezels around this display. It's even got a chin with a home button, like a lot of the old Android tablets and iPads. Not that that's a bad thing. I mean, a home button can be very useful on something like this. The charging port is USB-C, which is a step up compared to a lot of e-readers, but like the rest of this design, it just kind of feels like an afterthought. It juts out from the frame of the tablet and it's completely off center for some reason. There's nowhere to store the pen either. It doesn't snap to the tablet in any way. But I'm willing to look past all of that for now because the important part of this product is what's on the inside. The Nova 3 color features a 7.8-inch Kaleido Plus display that has a black and white resolution of 1404 by 1872 and a color resolution of 468 by 624. Yeah, it has two different resolutions for both color and monochrome. When viewing things in black and white, like reading a novel, the text is nice and sharp, and because it's an e-ink display, it's very easy to read even in direct sunlight. Like I mentioned, it has an LED backlight for reading at night too, but it's much more enjoyable to use without it. As soon as you introduce some color, things definitely start to get a little more pixelated and a little less sharp. But hey, it's still really cool that they managed to bring color to an e-ink display. It's obviously not gonna have the same amount of contrast or saturation as an LCD display, but it is much easier on the eyes than an LCD is. It looks like colored paper. You might have noticed by now that there's some ghosting present when I'm flicking through pages or zooming in on comics. That's part of the solution that Boox came up with to help out with the low refresh rate problem. Inside the drop-down menu, there's an option for refresh settings where you can cycle between three modes: normal, speed, and A2. Normal mode will have the slowest refresh rate, but the least amount of ghosting. As you move on to the speed and A2 modes, the ghosting increases, but the refresh rate also increases dramatically. On the A2 setting, the refresh rate becomes fast enough for scrolling through the web, and you can even watch a YouTube video with it, although I still don't recommend it. It's still pretty terrible. Now, what surprised me is that the low refresh rate of the e-reader doesn't seem to have much of an impact on note-taking and drawing. I actually think writing on this e-reader is one of its best features, oddly enough. It's got a Wacom digitizer with 4096 levels of pressure sensitivity, and writing on it in the default Notes app is a blast. I'm not much of an artist at all, but I did have a good amount of fun playing with the colors and making some drawings that probably should never see the light of day. As good as the hardware is though, this Notes app is pretty lackluster when it comes to features. You've got some basic drawing options like the ability to create layers, change drawing tools and brush sizes, and play with some basic shapes, but other than that, there's not much else to write home about. Battery life on the Nova 3 color is definitely impressive though. You can easily get days or even a week of battery life out of it if you're using it with the built-in LED backlight turned off. E-ink is incredible at saving battery because the display just doesn't draw power when it is displaying a static image like this. The only time that it draws power is when it refreshes the display. Given that the display is what draws the most power in a traditional smartphone or tablet, using e-ink leads to a dramatic improvement in battery life, even if the Nova 3 color has a relatively small 3150 mAh battery. Before we talk about the Google Play Store integration and the rest of the software experience on this e-reader, I first need to pay some bills and thank the sponsor of this video, NordVPN. Staying safe online should be a top priority for you, and using NordVPN is a super simple way to protect yourself. It works by creating an encrypted and secure tunnel between your computer and the host that you're accessing, and you can get it by going to nordvpn.com/Spurrell or by clicking on the link in the video description below. Nord's been my go-to VPN for a while now. I've got it on my PC, my Mac, my phones, and now this guy. The most important thing I use it for is to protect me from getting my personal or my banking information stolen, but it can do other stuff too. For example, you could use it to do something like bypass a region-specific wall. Some streaming services like Hulu aren't available to Canadian citizens like me, but if I just switch to a US server, Hulu thinks I live in the US and I can bypass that region restriction instantaneously. There's almost no difference in speed either. You'd have a real hard time telling the difference between when your VPN is on and when it's off. Look, I think NordVPN is one of the best VPNs out there, but listen, you don't have to take my word for it. Just Google NordVPN reviews. It's got top ratings literally everywhere, and you should definitely get it. Go to nordvpn.com/Spurrell to get a 2-year plan plus 4 additional months with a huge discount. Thanks to NordVPN for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to Nova 3 Color. Okay, so this e-reader actually runs Android 10. It's just got a skin on top of it. That's why it's possible to get the Google Play Store and download just about any Android app you can think of on it. The thing is, it doesn't come pre-installed onto the device. You need to enable Google Play on the tablet, sign into your Google account, and then wait up to 24 hours for Google to certify the device. Once the Play Store is active, you can then download pretty much anything. Most games probably won't run very well on it given the low refresh rate, but social media and productivity apps will be perfectly fine. It's a little strange because of the lower refresh rate, but it's so much more comfortable to flick through Reddit on an e-ink display. As for the UI and overall software experience, it's kind of a mixed bag. On the one hand, most of the things that you can do are laid out very nicely on the left-hand side of the screen when you power it on. Swiping down will reveal a quick settings menu like most Android devices, and the physical button can be mapped to bring you back home or can be used as a simple back button. There's support for Amazon's Kindle app and Libby right out of the box, along with a bunch of other apps that you can find within Boox's own app store, which is great. You don't need the Play Store for those. It's also got a host of free books within the store app, but almost all of them seem to be written before the last century, most likely because those are within the public domain now and can be shared freely. On the other hand though, the software can be rather unintuitive at times. There's no auto rotate feature, so to turn the tablet sideways, you need to use this really clunky UI. Many of the settings are buried within menus and submenus, and the placement of them doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But once you figure everything out, I mean, this is one of the most versatile e-readers on the market by far. Most Kindles, Kobos, and other e-readers are extremely locked down and have very few options to do anything outside of reading some basic texts. This one does pretty much everything you could ever want an e-reader to do. Like I said at the beginning of this video, this is a very niche product. If you're someone that loves to read comics or other written and drawn media that would be great to view in color, then the Nova 3 Color is one of the few options that's available on the market right now. But here's the kicker. This e-reader costs $420 US. You can get an iPad mini or any number of Android tablets for less than that, and those will give you much more versatility. If an e-reader is specifically what you need though, Boox did send out another one of their e-readers that I think is a better overall value, the Note Air. Even though it does cost $60 more, it's got a much more premium metal build quality, a stylus that snaps onto the side magnetically, a much larger 10.3-inch display, and some quality of life upgrades like a gyro for auto rotate. The only downside is that it doesn't have color, but in my opinion, it's a much more complete device that I could actually see a lot of students using for studying and note-taking. Let me know if you want to see a full review on that one. In any case, I hope you liked the video. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a great day.